Hi, welcome back to Speakerstack Music. This is Ant. This is the final video, video 7, I believe, in a sequence of videos where we look at how I've created a rock song in Ableton. Video 1, we did an intro, had a quick listen to the song, talked about the template that I set up, and how I structured the song. Video 2 was looking at the drums, and we've got a number of different instrument channels for the drums here. So 8 tracks or 8 channels, I think, in total. Video 3 was the bass synth and the low synth. Video 4 was around these kind of mid-level synths. We've got 2 or 3 of those. Video 5 was the guitars, loads of guitar channels as you'd expect on a rock song. And then video 6 was, final video was on a couple of, in terms of the instruments, was on a couple of sequences that we've got in place here to kind of give it a more of a kind of a ravey, psychedelic feel. So this next video, video 7, is going to be around mixing and mastering. So I'm going to show you how I set up the track in terms of the mix, which I was doing as I went along, creating each instrument. And so I've gone into the mixing view so I can show you what we've got going on here. Channels 1 to 8 represent the kit. So you can see things like the kick and the snare and the bass tom I've got panned centrally. The toms I've got panned off to the left and the right, as I have the hi-hats. Cymbals slightly off to the right. The bass synth and the low synth both panned dead center because they're quite an important part of the sound, so we want them pan center so that they're giving kind of rooting the song. Bongos off to the left and right. And then the mid synths, again, the voice kind of panned centrally, and then those again off to the left and right. So just use a bit of panning left and right to create space in the mix. Same principle with the guitars, where I've doubled up, one goes left, one goes right, left and right, power chords left and right, and then the riff and the rhythm guitar I've just panned left and right again. And then finally, sequencer and synth sequencer again left and right. So really with the mixing, it's just a case of finding the right levels that you want for the sound you want to create. But what I would suggest is when you're mixing is to start with the drum kit and build it up. So take out all of these other instruments, start with the kick and maybe the bass synth, and then drop the rest of the kit in and then build it up from there, getting a feel for the levels. I've used a lot of effects to balance the positioning of instruments in the song to either push it back or bring it to the forefront of the mix. So things like reverb, chorus, push the song back in the mix. EQ can be used again to position the sound. So rather than actually thinking about turning the sound up and down, first thing really is to think about the production and the EQ, where you want it to sit in the mix, because actually that can have the effect of changing how you hear it and its positioning in the mix, rather than thinking about just turning the volume of that individual channel up and down. So I've done a lot of that, which has meant that I hadn't needed to kind of mess around with levels too much. But that's essentially the mixing. I don't have anything going into the sends channels, as you can see on this particular track. Everything's going into the master channel. So with the mastering, just ignore restream. That's something I need to drop in order to create the video. We've got a Spectrum, an EQ8, a glue compressor, and a utility. And again, all of these can be found in the audio effects section of the Ableton presets. So the Spectrum's down here, EQ8's a bit further up, and then you've got the glue compressor, which is its own effect. It's separate to normal compression, which is here, and then utility, which is right down at the bottom. That's all I've used for this. I wanted to master using Ableton's preset instrument effects or mastering effects rather than any kind of third-party plugins, etc. So that's why I've selected these. I just wanted to show you what you can do with the effects that Ableton can provide. So when it comes to mastering the track, the first thing I did was drop a spectrum in. Now this is a device that will show you where the energy of the track is sitting in terms of the frequencies within that kind of spectrum of frequencies from low to high. And if I play the track, you'll see that it's kind of drawing you a bit of a shape, which is giving you an idea of how the where the energy of the song is focused in terms of the frequency ranges. So I'm just going to play you that now. Have a look at the spectrum and have a look at the shape that it's making and where the energy is going to be concentrated in these higher frequency ranges. So the higher it's going up, the more energy is occurring at that frequency. So you can see that in operation. You can see that a lot of the energy was focused around this area of the song, and it's kind of petering down. It's almost like a mountain slowly curving off. That's exactly what you need. You need the majority of the energy of the track needs to be, i.e. the decibels, need to be in those lower frequency ranges around, the sub-frequency ranges under 100. And around the 100 mark. So you'll see that it did peter out when the drums were dropped out, but when the drums came kind of thumping back in, it kind of pumped again in this range. So the spectrum's really handy in giving you an impression of what the mix is sounding like, where the energy of the track is. So that's why I've got that dropped in to the mastering channel as the first mastering effect. And obviously what you're seeing is the result of all the mastering that's going on in the track and all the production effects that are going on in the track. So the next thing I've dropped in is an EQ8, which we've used on some of the instrument channels. You can also use it in the mastering channel as well. It's a great mastering tool. It's very versatile. So again, just to keep things simple for the purposes of this video, I've just used one, and I've just got 4 of these different parameters in here. So a lot of these frequency ranges under kind of 50 or 60 hertz are like indistinguishable to the human ear. So you're not going to hear anything down here. It's just going to be a lot of kind of white noise, which is just clogging up the track and affecting the performance of it. So for that reason, I've cut them all out at around the 40 to 50 hertz range, using a high pass filter, a low cut filter, which is this parameter here. So it's quite a severe cut. Then I've boosted it around the 100 to 200 hertz range. Slight dip around 1 kilohertz, just to take some of the energy out of that middle section of the mix. Otherwise it can sound quite treble. There's a lot of guitars going on in there. And then boosted the top a little bit just to give it a bit of space, a bit of air. So that's kind of just a kind of a very gentle EQ curve that I've applied to the overall sound of the track. And if I just turn that off, you should hopefully be able to hear the difference it makes. Not sure if you can hear that, but a lot of the sub bass stuff is It's cut out anyway, but you can hear a slight boost around here. And I think it does take the edge off the guitars slightly and the mid synths with a slight dip in the frequency decibel range around 1 kilohertz. The next thing I've put in is a glue compressor. So this is a form of compression. It differs from the normal compression parameter that we have here. What a glue compressor does is it compresses, but it also binds sounds together. So it kind of glues the sounds together, I guess, unifies it, just makes it sound more like a cohesive whole. And the reason I've applied a glue compressor is just to take some of the spikes in sound off the mix, because obviously there's a lot of guitar in there, just to smooth that off. It essentially levels off any spikes in sound at the top. So the parameters that I've applied around the glue compressor are a very, very low attack, and that essentially means that's applying quite a lot of compression. I've put auto on the release. The threshold I've set at around minus 18 decibels, and then I've put some makeup gain on there as well. Left these alone. The ratio I've set at 2. So the attack is basically what we're doing is setting a threshold in the song where we want it to compress. And what I've said is that I want it to compress the sound. I want to compress the sound, anything that goes higher than minus 18 decibels. So that's going to be coming out about here on the overall master channel. So if you look at the sound, I'm just going to play you it, and you'll see the sound that's coming through on this. So I've just turned those effects off. You'll hear that the lowest point of decibels is around here when it just when some of the instruments drop out. You see it drops down to about here, and then the rest are kind of above that. So I've set, for that reason, I've set the threshold at minus 18 decibels, meaning that anything that goes above that is going to be compressed. And then the rest of the parameters are me telling the compressor how much compression to apply and in what way. So that's setting the threshold. And then in terms of the attack, this is basically us telling Ableton how much compression to apply after that threshold. So how much compression to apply after minus 18 decibels. And a lower value is a quicker attack. So I'm saying I want to apply quite a lot of compression coming through, which is why I've set it at that. And then the release is how quickly it then returns to the audio signal that's coming through after it's compressed it. And I've selected auto, which is the A, because I want it quite a smooth transition. So this is a rock song. It's not a dance track where we're kind of wanting it to compress quite heavily. I want it to be quite smooth when it comes back to the audio sound. So I've selected A for automatic on the release. And then finally on the ratio, what this is essentially how much compression is applied after the threshold. So what this is saying is for every 2 decibels over the threshold, you get back 1 decibel of volume. That's saying for every 4 decibels over the threshold, over that 18 decibel level, you're getting back 4 decibels of volume. Sorry, you get back one decibel, and for every 10 decibels over the threshold, you get back 1. So the lower this is, essentially, the less compression you're adding. So I didn't want it to be too dramatic, which is why I've selected 2. But I'm just going to play you the others, and you can get an idea of how it differs in sound. So you can hear hear with that ratio that it set at 2, it's a lot gentler. I didn't want it to be too severe in terms of the compression. So that's the glue compressor, and I've added some makeup gain because when you're taking a lot of the when you're compressing the audio signal, you tend to lower the volume of the signal that's going through. So you can use makeup gain to boost the decibels, the overall volume back up. So the threshold really is essentially is making sure that you're compressing anything above 18 decibels, and just smoothing off those spikes in sound that you're going to get from some of the synthesizers, some of the guitar, some of the audio recorded. And I've also added in a utility just to boost the signal again by a couple of decibels. So yeah, that's the mastering. And that really concludes the sequence of videos. So I hope you found that useful and had some value from it. If you have, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'm trying to boost this, get this out to more people. I'm going to be doing lots more of these sequence of videos where I explain how you create different songs in different genres, and also some further videos in terms of how you apply effects and what they do and when to use them. So lots more to come. So thanks so much for listening. I hope you found that useful. If you have, please subscribe and like the video as well. And I look forward to seeing you in the next Speakerstack video. Thanks very much.